Installing WordPress has become significantly easier since the introduction of quick installers. These are softwares that do one-click WordPress installations. However, it's always nice to know how to install WordPress manually. To begin to install WordPress manually, you simply navigate to wordpress.org and you'll see the Download WordPress 4.4.1 button. At the time of making this video, WordPress 4.4.1 is the latest version. Click on Download WordPress. It'll take you to a download page. Now click on the download button. We're going to save the file. Now, we're going to need access to your server host and something called cPanel or an equivalent. cPanel is typically provided by all server hosts. This is the backend of your hosting instance. We're going to need to access your file manager and your MySQL databases. To start, we first access our file manager. It'll look pretty plain, with no files currently in here. First, you got to go ahead and upload WordPress. Just upload the whole file folder that we just downloaded. Once the file upload is completed, you'll notice it appearing in the back end of your file manager. Here it is. Extract your folder. You'll notice that WordPress comes automatically preloaded with a directory called WordPress. In general, you want your WordPress instance to be in the root directory. There's ways to change this on the admin backend of WordPress, but we could start that off right now. Simply move all your files over to your root directory and delete the original folder that WordPress comes with. It's entitled WordPress. Now, we need to set up our SQL databases. Navigate back to your cPanel, scroll down until you see MySQL databases. Click on MySQL databases and begin setting up your first database. We're going to call this WP-SOAR Demo. Create the database. Now remember what this database is called. We'll be using it at a later point. Now create your user. We're going to call it WP-SOAR. Generate your password and make sure you save this password in a safe location. We're going to need to access it later. Once you're done, create the user. And now we need to add privileges for the user to the database. Select the user and select the database. Click on Add and allow all the privileges for the user to that database. Click on Make Changes and you'll see a success screen. Now we need to navigate back to our file manager and install WordPress. Navigate to the file entitled wp-config-sample.php. Rename the file to wp-config. Edit your file. Input the database password. These are the fields that we need to fill out: the database name, the database user, and the database password, which we just did. The rest of the settings generally need to be left unchanged. There are some settings for certain hosting providers that need to be modified from localhost. If you're not unable to install WordPress using these settings, most likely you have a hosting issue and you need to contact your host for the appropriate settings. In our case, the database is already set up and our hosting provider leaves this as a default setting. We can proceed by installing WordPress. find the user, find the database. And you can find this all in the database MySQL page. This is what we just finished setting up. Once you've pasted the appropriate information, click on Save. To complete the installation, we need to navigate to our URL where we installed WordPress. We should see the WordPress installation screen. Select the language of the installation. Click on Continue when you've selected it. And now we input the site title. Remember to save your password in a safe place. If this is your first time setting up WordPress on this website, maybe your site hasn't been built yet, in which case you most likely want to discourage search engines from indexing this site. This is to prevent search engines from seeing your site before it's ready to go live. This is very important if you're just building your website. If you don't want any traffic or any bots visiting your site, click on this button. Otherwise, if you have a WordPress database that you'd like to override this install with at a later point, you don't need to discourage search engines. Remember, all these settings can be changed as soon as you're in the back end. Once you're ready, click on Install WordPress. You'll see the success page. When you're ready, click on Login. Log in with your username and password that you just selected. And that's it. Now you have a fresh install of WordPress.